Welcome to Voice of the Nation. The continued Russian sanctions have affected production and commodity prices around the world. What's next for oil and gas prices as the sanctions are intensifying? Together with me today is Dr. Narongchai Akaraserani, former Ministry of Energy. สวัสดีครับอาจารย์ครับ
Hello everybody.
อาจารย์สวัสดีครับ Welcome again to Voice of the Nation. When we have this issue, it's just like we need someone who really know about the issue to talk about this for real, real meanings, and also tell us about the implication from now on. So the oil and price, the oil prices and natural gas have all hit new and fresh record highs that we have seen. And also when we have the sanction, like European sanction for the Russian invasion of Ukraine, it seems to be like a adverse effect to the European countries and also other effect to other countries around the world. So what do you see this picture now?
Yes, I'd like to emphasize again that I foresaw this energy price going up earlier on, back to last year, September, October. And this Russian-Ukraine made it worse. But even without the Russian-Ukraine, the energy cost would be high. And that would have very serious impact on the Thai economy and on the Thai people. I emphasize again that we are an energy deficit country. We're an oil deficit country, we're a gas deficit country. That's the fact. No matter whoever say what. That is a fact. We import about 1 million barrels of oil a day. We produce just a few thousand locally. And we import half of our natural gas use. We have our own local production, but we also have to import. And the gas is used mainly for power generation. Plus some of the gas for LPG, for cooking oil, for that some people may use it for their motor vehicles. So that being the case, we have to follow international prices. We have to allow international prices to operate in Thailand. We cannot deny that. If we cannot pay international price, then nobody will sell to us. And that's applied to finished products as well, benzene and diesel. We use the Singapore price as the benchmark. Some people may say we should not do that, but the fact is that the Singapore price is functioning according to market forces. So if we use it, investors, they can make calculation, when they make decision about investment for refinery. And if the results are positive, when their calculation, they invest, knowing that there would be no political interference to that price. If anybody has the doubt about political interference, they would not invest. So that is the principle we use in Thailand. Therefore, when we have this oil price increase, gas price increase, we will be affected. Now, how much? It depends on also our policy. So what we do is that in order to stabilize the fluctuation in oil and price gases, we set up the oil fund. The oil fund, and we use that. When the price low, we collect money from people buying and selling oil and gas. When the price is high, rising, we use the money to subsidize so that the changes will be stable. I mean, we allow the price change to be up and down, but not so suddenly. That's the use of oil fund. That's the principle of how we operate in Thailand. We have to accept that fact. Nobody, they may not like it, but they cannot say that they do not believe in the fact. Unless, they simply have no way of knowing, anything or denying everything. So that is the case, and it has happened in the past, when we operated like this. I think it was in the 2010, 2011, 2012, when the price of oil went up a lot, meaning $100 plus. We used a lot of the oil fund to the point that it went into deficit like we have today. When I became Minister of Energy, the oil fund was deficit 20 billion plus. But luckily in 2014, 2015, the price of oil, international price went down a lot. So I started collecting money from buying and selling oil and gas and paid the debt of the oil fund, build up the oil fund to 40 billion baht. When I resigned from the job at the end of 2015.
I see.
Now, fast forward to 2022 today.
Right. Let me ask this
Doing
first.
the same now. The deficit has
same now.
gone to almost 50 billion. Almost 50
I
billion.
see.
Very, very, very tough.
I see. So
almost
you
50
mentioned,
billion.
Ajahn Kap, you mentioned that without the war, can you refer back to the situation because of the inflation that we talked about last time that going up, and without the war, the oil price will come up anyway. But it's
Anyway,
not
maybe
in
not
this,
as much.
like this.
Not
It
as
will
much. But
steadily
would
coming
definitely
up.
be around 100. Definitely. Because of the movement towards the net zero, the movement away from fossil fuel. The people, thought that it would be not profitable to invest in the production of oil or fossil fuel. Investment has been slowing down quite a lot. And that being the case, supply has been, has not been growing. So when the demand came back from the COVID recovery of this COVID pandemic, suddenly the price of oil went up, last September, October. So that's I emphasize again that when we are going to the so-called net zero carbon movement, the cost of oil and gas would go up because the production side investment it has been slowing down. You recall Exxon, you recall Shell, and all these companies declaring that they would slow down their investment in the production of fossil.
For now, right. For now, we see the fact also that Russia is the world's second largest natural gas producer, and the whole Europe heavily rely on this, and they send to the pipeline, and now with this war and the sanction. So, do you think that at the end of the day is a new game for controlling the price? The Russia, we should stop doing this economic sanction and focusing on the peace talk, because when the peace talk continue like last time, the traders tend to sell the contracts.
I think
the peace talk is not optimistic.
I think we perhaps we could conclude our first part of the conversation.
Okay.
In terms of the current situation about diesel price,
right?
Because that's on the headline today. That first of May, the price would go up. Now, let me explain, because of what I said earlier, that we have to rely upon international price, meaning that if we were to apply that principle today, based on the calculation of the price of diesel in Singapore, plus all the things that we need to pay, like excise tax, like the what we call marketing cost, which is actually operation cost, not just marketing. The term used is wrong. I mean the management and arrangement, to deliver from refinery to the consumer. If we plus all this, the price of diesel today would have to be 40 baht. 40 baht. It is 30 because we use the oil fund to subsidize about 10 baht. So actually, if I were in the position earlier, I would allow this adjustment to take place earlier. But now it's too late.
Oh.
The adjustment, the subsidy is 10 baht. The subsidy is 10 baht.
Now it's too late.
To cut that down, it would be drastic, meaning the price would go from 30 to 40. Politically unacceptable. So therefore, they say that they would let it go up to 32, meaning that they will continue to subsidize about 8 baht. And this is tough because the oil fund, as I said, is already 50 billion. And that 50 billion, I like to emphasize again that we have two parts. We have the oil fund and LPG fund. I was the one who separated the fund into two parts because I want the people to understand that the deficit comes from where, so that we can manage, the deficit and the surplus properly. But somehow in the last few years, they did not manage that. They
combined again.
Well, no, they did not, but they continue to subsidize LPG heavily.
Oh.
And when they do that, of course, the LPG for cooking is enjoyed by the people, by households. But then you see, motor vehicle users, when the LPG price is so low, they switch from benzene or diesel to LPG. They put gas tank into their cars again.
Right.
I was the one who stopped that, because before 2014, if you travel around the country, you see a lot of gas stations for motor vehicles. After 2015, gas station closed down. But now they start opening again, a lot of distortion, because intention was to help household cooking gas. But, motor vehicle use it because the price too low. Therefore, anyway, what happened today is very tough because they would have to continue to use the oil fund, which has run into big deficit, and partly because of the subsidy for LPG. And the situation is that it's tough. Now, then you talk about the Russia-Ukraine situation. I think in the medium term, immediate term, it's a big disruption because the European having less access to gas and things like that. And immediate term, very difficult. But in the medium and longer term, things will return to market forces. India, China, they need oil and gas. Russia has oil and gas. And if European countries don't buy from Russia because of whatever reason, the Russian will sell to India and China. As you have observed, I'm sure, meeting between Biden and Modi, and the news about China having this new pipeline connecting to the Russian sources and things like that. So the distribution of oil and gas in the future, if this tension will continue, which I think will continue, the international tension between the Western side, US and Western Europe, and the Eastern side, China, Russia, and so on. If this tension continue, this so-called separation of power, rivalry for power, for political power, the bifurcation, I call it the bifurcation of the world power, there would be a new so-called distribution pattern of oil and gas. So I do not expect that the rivalry or the fighting, the war between Russia and Ukraine would make the situation worse in the energy situation worse in the medium and long term. The energy situation will continue to be difficult, but the distribution will be different. European Western countries, they will rely more on the Middle East oil and gas. And US, if you recall, they can do the fracking, the production of oil and gas domestically. And that slowed down because of the net zero situation. But they will go back again, with a situation like this. So my conclusion is that this war, Russia and Ukraine, I don't know how it will end, but definitely the world will be bifurcated. the bifurcation of power
Mhm.
and effect on the pattern of the distribution of oil and gas.
Okay. So for now, what you think about the consumer have to endure the pressure of the price, and we seem for the
Yes,
government seems cannot
it's very
unable to do
unfortunate.
anything.
It's very unfortunate because we are energy deficit country. We are oil and gas deficit country. That's the fact of life, you know. So we have to you may want to use the word suffer, but we have to live. We have to live within this kind of situation, and it depends very much on how we manage our market economy. I emphasize again that in a time like this, we have to think about how to enforce market forces, as I told you last time. You know, like for example, the cost of food and things like that. If we have the import restriction on certain things, we have to allow those products to come in, to allow the competition to go from domestic to international, you know, so that it would lessen the cost of production. I think this is the real case today, that we have to start thinking about allowing intermediate goods and raw material that would be used for particularly food production. I can refer to corn, I can refer to the soybean, and the cost of raw materials is lower or not going up as much. Then we can help with the cost of consumer products.
Okay.
Controlling prices never work. I
Never
tell you
work.
again, never.
Right.
I
So
told
we
you I
let
was
it go.
Minister of Commerce in 1997 in our conversation last time. This is a fact of life. Controlling prices never work. What happened is that if you don't allow price to increase, producer will reduce the quantity.
Right.
I mean, otherwise they'll get out of the business. You know, why would they continue to produce and at a loss? Producers, logically, you know, it's basic.
Right.
basic.
Right. The construction and materials coming up almost like 30% now. And
Yes, I am in the property business, and I see it. And if the government doesn't allow this price to go up, then they would stop selling. I would have no access to the raw materials. You know, so increase competition, allow competition, make it easy for people to do business.
It's interesting that you point out the perspective that the distribution will gonna be changed, and
Yes, all the
Russia will not
energy for
sell
energy.
to Europe anymore
Well,
because of
no.
this.
They will sell to some, but they can sell less to Western Europe.
I see.
At the moment, only at the moment. I think in the future, you know, people would satisfy their needs somehow.
I see. So you see this situation compared to the past that we have like two countries fighting and having effect to other countries. And in the past, it seems that we not really combine economic pressure with them, or because now all the world intertwined and just linking, networking together. So it's
Yes.
effect in many dimensions. So
Yes.
just for an idea that is it possible to separate the issue with the peace talk and also the economic talk?
Well, no. I let me say this. This is the turning point for global order. The Russian-Ukraine crisis is a turning point for global order. You know, the global order has been very much dictated by the U.S. From now on, the global order will be bifurcated. You know, will be arrangement among different groups of countries and things like that, not just by the U.S. alone, which is okay. I mean, life has to go on, although it may be different.
And the same thing should be applied to Thailand. We position ourselves.
No, let me. When I say the different global order, I give you just a simple example. You know, so that I think you can follow this up so easily.
Please.
Now, if the U.S. has such power, if you are Russian, suppose you are Russian, you know, you have your deposit in the U.S., You have reserve, you have surplus, you deposit in US. Then the US confiscate all your wealth, all your asset, all your reserve. What would you do? You would seek, different source of asset or different location where you put your asset, isn't it? So I think it's the exercising of power, of sanction, of confiscating asset and things like that will definitely change the mind, the thought, the thinking of many other countries, many people around the world about what kind of asset they should keep, where they should keep their asset, what kind of transaction they should make, what will be the means of transaction they will use. Today it's all dollar. But now, the sanction, the result of the sanction will be that it will be different way, different means of payment, of investment, of saving.
We can see
We have to
from
be
this.
ready for that. And it would affect Thailand, it would affect Thailand. Thailand would have to think about how do we manage our economy, as we said earlier about these prices. But next, we'll have to think about how do we manage our assets. We have more than $200 billion of reserve, almost all in US dollar. And if you recall, just a few months ago, the Bank of Thailand bought bidding for gold, number one in the world. It shows that the Bank of Thailand is thinking about keeping reserve in gold. If you recall a year before, Germany moved all kinds of gold into Germany. So we are going to see the different kinds of economic arrangement following the sanction. The sanction will accelerate this change, meaning that the sanction will not kill Russia. The sanction will not destroy Russia, but the sanction will change economic order of the world.
Make people to rethink about this.
Yes, it's a big and long subject, and I would, since I have no time, but I would like you to think more about it. It's a big and very important subject for all the countries, including Thailand, to think about, to come up with strategy. And in 2 weeks, there will be meeting between US and ASEAN leaders. US wants ASEAN to back them, but ASEAN asks them, how can we back you when you behave like this? But ASEAN will not say that openly. You see, I say that openly. I have to go. I have another meeting, we can have conversation again about, the impact.
This topic is quite very, very interesting for us too, and for our audience too.
Definitely.
How we manage our asset in the reserve, this important national asset.
Okay. So I have to go another. Okay, thank you. Okay, bye-bye.
ขอบคุณมากครับ That's wrap up for today about what's going on with this oil and gas prices that's coming up, and do we need to have a new kind of measure to handle this? It seems like very not good, not likely to happen soon, but we can see that in the problem we can see other dimensions that Thailand can move to. So thanks a lot, Dr. Narongchai Akarasairani, former Energy Minister, and today we wrap up here now and continue for this topic for sure. ผมวิทยาแสงอรุณ สวัสดีครับ